You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical rant.
Oh boy, we got 15 medical marijuana states here in these wonderful United States of America, and a lot of times people in those states get kind of complacent. They get this feeling like, wow, now I'm legal. Now I've got my medical marijuana card, I'm legal. Well, folks, you're not as legal as you think, and those medical marijuana laws are increasingly under siege all throughout this country. We did the story earlier in the news today about the governor in New Mexico, the new governor there, Governor Martinez, who wants just to outright repeal the medical marijuana law. And then I had this story that I was composing on the blog. We told you the story on Monday of Senator Mark Leno in California introducing the bill to protect medical marijuana patients' workplace rights so that they couldn't be discriminated against by drug testing for employment or, for preferential treatment or anything like that. These kind of fixes are necessary because there's companies out there right now whose sole job is to try to figure out how to fire medical marijuana patients. Now, in the state of California, the Ross v. Raging Wire decision declared that that was possible, that was okay to fire and discriminate against patients. In Oregon, the Washburn v. Columbia Forest Products case, again, legal to discriminate against medical marijuana patients. So you're not as legal as you think. And let me tell you about this organization dedicated to firing sick and disabled people. It's called the Drug and Alcohol Testing Industry Association, or DATIA, D-A-T-I-A, DATIA. Drug and Alcohol Testing Industry Association only has our best interests at heart, of course, not the sales of P-tests or anything like that, right? Just our best interests at heart. And now they're offering a seminar, a webinar, if you will, a web seminar on how to properly put sick and disabled people out of work and onto the streets. This comes from the website of Occupational Health and Safety. The Drug and Alcohol Testing Industry Association will begin its 2011 webinars on February 9th with a presentation that will be of interest to safety managers and CEOs from Maine to Hawaii. Those two are among 15 states, plus the District of Columbia, that have medical marijuana laws in force. The February 9 webinar by lawyer David G. Evans is entitled State Medical Marijuana Laws, the Potholes in the Road for Drug-Free Workplace Programs. Potholes. Get it? Yeah. See, the pot pun headline is like honey to the Pooh Bear. It's just irresistible to the prohibitionists. They just can't shake it. So what will you learn in this live webcast that by the way, only costs you $49 to view? We give you our webcast live every day for free, but $49 if you want to learn how to fire medical marijuana patients. According to the DATIA website, quote, medical marijuana laws are becoming more common. Currently, 15 states and the District of Columbia have medical marijuana laws. While marijuana is still a federally banned drug per the Controlled Substances Act, these state laws are increasingly wreaking havoc for drug-free workplace programs. What, if any, changes do employers need to make to their policies to address medical marijuana? What, if any, actions can employers take against employees with medical marijuana cards that test positive for marijuana? These and many more questions regarding medical marijuana and its effect on drug-free workplace programs will be answered in the timely presentation. Okay, you want to know what the havoc is that's being wreaked here? When a medical marijuana patient has a job, it destroys any rationale for P-testing a healthy person for pot to get and keep a job. How do you justify firing Bobby Bong Hitter for peeing dirty after a weekend party, but not firing PD patient for peeing dirty on his glaucoma treatment, right? It's the same marijuana. It's the same guys working in the same workplace. But for one, you got to fire him because he's, too healthy? You can't fire the other guy because he's too sick? The fact is, neither Bobby nor PD nor anyone who uses cannabis is a danger to any workplace. You know, these arguments come up and they can never show us any data showing that cannabis consumers are any sort of credible workplace safety threat. In Oregon, when they pulled this crap at the legislature, we confronted them and asked them, all right, where's your data? Show us the data of workplace safety. Name the one case where a medical marijuana patient's off-site, off-hours use of his medicine led to a workplace incident of safety or fatality or injury. Zero. They admitted they could not come up with a single incident where off-use, off-hours use of medical marijuana led to any sort of problem. Now, people like this David G. Evans and DATIA, however, they're more than willing to see all patients unjustly denied a right to work than to give up the cash cow of workplace P-tests for healthy people, because they are well aware of the fact that far more people use cannabis and it's detectable far longer than all the other illicit drugs combined. Drug testing for all drugs other than cannabis would result in very few positive results, so few that it would be really hard to justify its expense to any company. Drug testing for marijuana is the cash cow of the drug testing, prison, drug court, drug rehab, industrial complex, if you want to call it that. Oh, and by the way, in case that guy's name, David G. Evans, sounds familiar to you, it's because he's the director of the Drug-Free America Foundation, or as I like to call it, the Drug Companies Free from the Competition with Cannabis in America Foundation. You might remember him. He had a couple debates on CBS News between himself and Judge James Gray during the Prop 19 campaign. There's also an appearance on CNN. I've got the video of that. You can look it up at our blog at stash.normal.org. But this DATIA company, these DATIA organization, their whole job here is to try to tell employers and human resource directors how to properly fire medical marijuana patients so they don't get the pantsuit off them. It's disgusting. They're talking about what's going to be the effect on the drug-free workplace program. What's going to be the effect on these sick and disabled people who lose their income? What, we want more sick and disabled people homeless out on the streets? That's the goal here of all this drug testing here? Look, if they are working as 75% or more of all cannabis consumers do have full-time jobs. If they're working and they're not causing a problem, there's no need to be firing them. If they're using cannabis medically and they're not using it at the workplace and they're not causing any problems at the workplace, then what is the problem you're trying to solve? Well, the problem you're trying to solve here is you don't like marijuana, you don't like its user, and you want to be free to discriminate against them. In another case here, we got a story that we wrote up on the blog, Cannabob put this one up, of the Arizona representative talking about taxing medical marijuana at 300%. Yeah, causing the cost of marijuana to go up 3 times than its regular cost here. 300% tax. This is the kind of threats that we've got to the medical marijuana laws in all of these states. And most recently, I'm working on a story about Montana. In Montana, their drug court coordinator for the state has created this essay full of lies about medical marijuana that's circulating amongst the Republican legislators. John Masterson of Montana Normal turned me on to this, and I'm writing this up. It's not ready yet, but you'll see most of it up at the blog. I'll give you some of the highlights of this, some of the stuff they're saying, some of the stuff that the Republicans are believing in Montana in this essay that's called Why Montana's Medical Marijuana Law Should Be Repealed. Montana voters did not vote for the increased crime that has accompanied medical marijuana. Considerable crime has accompanied the legalization of medical marijuana. Really? Well, then Montana must be a whole California and Colorado, which have, let's see, far more patients and much more dispensaries. The sheriffs there, we have one story, the sheriff in LA County who surveyed the situation amongst their 1,000 dispensaries that they had and found no greater crime numbers amongst dispensaries than any other business. We got sheriffs in Colorado who did the same thing, found no greater increase in crime in the marijuana-related businesses. The essay goes on to say, the risk of criminal involvement is determined to be between 1.5 and 3 times greater for cannabis users than non-users. We certainly have had our crime wave in Montana. What a bunch of junk stat that is. Being involved with cannabis is criminal if you're not a legal patient. That people involved with cannabis have 3 times more criminal involvement? Yeah, because they're busted with cannabis. Jeez, if you want to see a causal relationship between substance use and crime, take a look at alcohol. Take a look at those stats. Furthermore, this Andrew Paul, deputy Missouri County attorney, is saying that most caregivers do not abide by the law. Many caregivers are going over their limit with anywhere from a dozen to 100 more plants than they legally can have. Every single search warrant, they've had more than their limit. Really? So let's see. If you're getting a search warrant for a registered caregiver, you're doing so because they think they're over the limit. Doesn't it seem that way? You wouldn't be getting search warrants for guys that are growing one plant, would you? What a bunch of junk stats these are. And then the middle of this essay goes on about Jason Christ, the director of the Montana Caregivers Network. We've reported on him. The guy with the roving medical marijuana caravan. The guy doing video Skype exams who signed, thousands of patients in a day. That guy. Here's a case of one bad apple spoiling the whole bunch. And on top of it, the guy's got an unstable personality. He's cited for disorderly conduct. He's doing all sorts of crazy stuff out there. This is a really, really bad situation in Montana where one guy here and his greedy operations and flouting the law here is going to bring this medical marijuana law down for the entire state of Montana. But let me get to some other junk stats here in this thing. Montana voters did not vote to have nearly 10% of parolees and probationers using and carrying medical marijuana cards. More than 9% of Montanans on probation and parole, including those arrested for drug offenses, carry registered medical marijuana cards. Well, first of all, how many probationers and parolees have medical prescriptions for oxycodone? We don't seem to be too concerned about that. And did it occur to you that maybe the reason they got in trouble with the law for the first place was that they were using medical marijuana before it was legal? I mean, how cruel is that you think a guy who's imprisoned for treating his illness illegally with cannabis should not be able to treat his illness with cannabis when it's legal because it was illegal when he first tried it? That makes no sense whatsoever. There is more of this junk science, and you can get the complete debunk at our blog, stash.normal.org. This and all the stories we cover in the hemp headlines, and plus many more graphs and charts, and we've got downloads of sound, all of the Toker tunes that you got on the show, videos. You got to check it out. Stash.normal.org, the Stash blog, your home for the Normal Daily Audio Stash, Normal Show Live, and all the videos of these radical rants that you can get the embed code for and paste on your own website. Spread the growing truth about cannabis, my minions. Thanks for joining us. I'm Radical Russ for Ganja John and Cannabis Carry and the Normal Foundation. Thanks for listening to us. We'll be back tomorrow. Stay tuned for Hour 2 live Toker Talk Radio. And until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is Normal Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.